This is Tony Bishop, owner of Connexis Search Group. Now that you've secured an interview, I want to give you an overview of how you should handle the interview and make sure that you do a good job and secure an offer. So we probably have anywhere from 4 to 10 people interviewing every month. We place about 150 people a year, so we have a lot of people interviewing every week, and so a big part of our job is to help candidates prepare and get ready for interviews. I made a video prior to this one that shows you how to prepare for an interview, so you should probably watch that video first because it tells you all the work you need to do and how to get ready for the interview. This one is going to be actually, now that you have the interview, we're going to show you what to do during the interview. Okay, so you've made it this far, so now what? So this is your opportunity to close. You should really be trying to close and get an offer during this interview. And I always tell candidates, hey, get the offer, get somebody to want you. Obviously you're not going to get the offer right after the interview, but maybe. But the main thing is your objective should be to get the hiring manager to say they want you on their team, right? Because you can always later decide that you're not interested and turn down an offer. But your job right now is to get them to like you well enough that they're saying, hey, we want to take you to the next step, which may be an offer. That's your objective. So on this video, I'm going to talk from how to handle yourself from start to finish. And topics that we're going to go over are taking control of the interview, effective communication. You'll find some things that are the common mistakes candidates make in interviews, asking good questions, presenting proof of your success. They say evidence defeats doubt. Finding the hiring manager's goals and desires and helping them realize you can help them get what they want. Handling objections, because there are going to be objections. Everybody has them. All candidates, all interviewers have objections. And closing the interview effectively. How to close and get commitment. So, like I said before, I did make a video on being prepared, and so part of this could be if you're working with a recruiter, they can tell you what to expect. So they probably know this hiring manager, they probably know this person's style and what they're looking for, and so obviously a recruiter could help you. If you're not working through a recruiter, research the person yourself, whoever you're talking to, do a lot of work, look at their background, go to LinkedIn, find out something about them. If you know somebody that works for the company, even better. So look through the company, find people you know, ask them what they know about the company, what they think about the company, what they know about the person you're interviewing with. You definitely want to be prepared. Okay, so obviously for salespeople, this is pretty a known fact. But establishing a connection from the very start, and this applies to anybody who's interviewing, you want to find some common interest with the person, even if it's just something off their LinkedIn profile. If you notice that maybe they were a coach or a military veteran, bring something up about their background. People love to talk about themselves, and they appreciate that you notice that and build rapport with them. And mention something notable in their background. If they have done a really good job in their company and they've always won leadership awards, mention that as well. And then obviously if you're meeting with them in person, which becomes not a thing as happens as frequently as it used to, but obviously just a warm greeting and a handshake and being friendly as you meet everybody you're getting ready to interview with. Okay, so here's what we hear most frequently. This is the number one reason candidates get eliminated, is they get eliminated because they talk too much. And so you really have to be careful not to talk too much. If the person you're interviewing with wants to talk and tell you about themselves, tell you about their company, and if you didn't say if they talk 90% and you talk 10%, that is okay because they're doing what they want to do. They may want to be telling you about the company. They may be checking your listening skills to see how well you listen and then ask follow-up questions. But this is something we hear so often, so frequently, and candidates say, well, I didn't really talk that much. If you're interrupting the hiring manager or the recruiter or the talent acquisition person, whoever you're interviewing with, then you're probably talking too much. So you want to listen carefully to each question before answering. When you answer, you want to be very succinct, and you want to avoid over-explaining. Sometimes I think candidates may get nervous and they try to provide too much information. Give them big picture information to start off with. If they ask you a question, and then ask them, hey, did I answer your question, or would you like for me to give more detail, right? And that way you can avoid the part of over talking. So just give them succinct answer. It could be, give them something that has some concrete information in it, and the more detailed, I suppose, about exact experience you can give them, the better. But don't over talk, and then just ask them if you gave them enough information. Okay, so taking control of the interview, asking great questions. So this is something that for sales reps, this is probably easier. If you're not a sales rep, it may be a little bit more challenging, but you don't have to sit back and just let the hiring manager or the talent acquisition or HR person ask you questions. If you'll see an opening here with your meeting with somebody, and a lot of people who interview, they don't really know exactly how to interview, and so a lot of times it's just a conversation. If it's going in that direction, then you want to kind of take control and start asking them questions to get them to tell you what they're looking for. So don't be afraid to take the lead by asking hiring managers specific questions about their goals and challenges. How can I help you be successful in achieving your team's goals this year? Or, hey, I know you're trying to hire for this position. Is there any particular reason? How can I help you be more successful? Those types of questions. Then as you gather that information, you'll use that as you go through the interview, because now you know what their goals are and you know how to help them. And you can get some examples of how you could help them achieve their goals. Let's say this person is, hey, I've always been, as a manager, I've always gone to President's Club. I've been here 10 years. I've made it 8 of the 10 years, and I want to go back. I need a really strong salesperson to help me. We lost somebody, and I need another top achiever. So now you know what their real goal is, to get to President's Club. Then you can start asking questions. Well, hey, let me ask you this. What kind of performance do you need from me in order for you to go to President's Club? What would I have to achieve to round out your team? Is this 110% over goal, 120? And you start asking questions like that, and then you get this person talking about what they're trying to achieve, and you can relate to them, how you can help them get there, right? So you could say, hey, at my previous company, I helped my manager go to President's Club. I won a large deal with an integrated delivery network, and it was $2 million a year in new business, and just that one account alone was enough to propel me into President's Club, taking my manager with him. So I'm really good at winning big, large deals, and I can do the same for you. Something along those lines. The other question to really ask, or you're trying to, the second one is you're establishing decision criteria. How is this person going to make their decision? What qualities are you seeking in a salesperson, or what qualities are you seeking in a QA person? Whatever the title is, what qualities are you seeking in this person you're trying to hire? So now you can understand the decision criteria. So this is how this person is going to make their decision, is on these qualities that they're seeking. So they may say, hey, I really am looking for somebody who's very creative. I'm looking for somebody who's very persistent. I'm looking for somebody who's very organized. So you write all this down. You write this stuff down on a piece of paper. You have it in front of you, and then you go through. As you go through the interview, then you're going to go through each one of those things that they mentioned, and you're going to show them how well you can help, how well you have those, that you possess those qualities. And so that would make up the bulk of the interview. You know, if they said, hey, we're looking for somebody who's creative, then you can go through and you can talk about how creative you are and how you can help them. So I'll show you a little bit more about that, but don't be afraid to take control. You'll see an opening, especially if somebody doesn't have a known process. And so we already talked about this, how to relate, how you can achieve each of these goals. And here, if you're a salesperson, use your sales skills to convince the hiring manager to the right person for the job. So you're giving them evidence, you're asking them questions, and you're giving them evidence to show that you possess these skills throughout the interview. If you're not a salesperson, it's okay. You still can do this. You can still sell yourself to the person you're interviewing with. I want to show you a little bit about this decision criteria. So when we ask what qualities you're seeking, they're going to give you 2 or 3 qualities. And so now you have one, let's say creativity. And then all you want to do is give an example of how you use creativity to win a large order, or how you used creativity to solve an R&D problem, right? And that you have novel approaches to winning business. And so give them an example of creativity. Maybe you were trying to break into an account and the traditional ways were not working, and you found a very creative way to get into the account. Maybe it was a piece of information that you provided to somebody on the team. You have to think through what it could be, and then you give an example to prove that you're creative. And so you go through each quality that they gave you, and you'd give an examples of how you're creative. And then at the very end, just say, hey, let me ask you this. Did that help you understand how creative I am? And I kind of think that way when I approach new business. Did I give you a good example? And most of the time, if you've done a good job, they'll say yes. Okay, so providing evidence of your skills. This is something that you want to bring in the previous video. I talked about preparing. You definitely want to have concrete examples of your past experience, and so anything that you can bring with you, that most of this is going to be on a video conference, but have any kind of proof sources that you have with you so that you can pull up examples, maybe a letter from a client who said, hey, thank you for solving our problems and selling this equipment has been great and achieving our goals. Anything that you have, they say evidence defeats doubt. And I think that's what you really need to be thinking about, or even references from people that you've sold stuff to. Maybe they had put a reference in your LinkedIn profile. But you want to talk about very specific examples and any proof sources you have to back that up. I mean, I suppose if you're doing a video conference and they're asking you to prove that you're a top performer, then you could show the trophies in your room. A lot of times people give eagles with trophies and #1 performer. Hey, hold that up and say, hey, this is what I got from my company from being the #1 rep, or whatever you have, whatever proof source you have, a letter of recommendation from the CEO of your company. Show this information. A lot of times they won't ask for it, but by showing it, it definitely helps you position yourself as somebody who can help them. Okay, and so I already talked a little bit about this. Use visual proofs to reinforce your achievements. So there again, have a brag book or digital portfolio. We talked a little bit about that. We talked about displaying tangible awards. Share your screen during a video conference. If you're meeting somebody in person, you can bring this information with you. If you have LinkedIn references, definitely show those as well. Okay, so answering difficult questions. Now you understand you're going to get some difficult questions, and so you need to kind of know what they are. And we do have separate on our website, and they'll be in the show notes at the end of this video. There'll be some references. I'll put these in there, but there is actually a video on how to, on the 3 most challenging interview questions people get and how to answer them. So that, I'll make sure to put that in the show notes here so you can look at them. Be honest about weaknesses, but always frame them positively. So people are always going to ask, or some people are going to ask, not always, but some people ask, hey, what is your What is your biggest weakness? And so a lot of people will say things. Here's a kind of a crazy example, but a lot of people say, well, hey, I'm a workaholic. I work all the time, and so that's actually a strength, but it could be a weakness to your family or people who want to spend time with you. So you could use that as a weakness and say, hey, I'm trying to learn how to maybe not work as many hours on the weekends and nights and stuff, so I can spend more time with my family. But I get so involved in my job that I just can't help it, and I enjoy doing it. I want to be successful. Something like that. That's always that's fine as a weakness. And so things like that are fine. And then you want to never speak in a negative way about your previous employer, even if you didn't like your manager. People do not want to hear you negative talk about your company or your manager. So you can always explain things in a different way. So in other words, a lot of times people ask you, like, especially if you have short stints, hey, why did you leave this company? So they want to know why you left one company and went to the next. So the best thing to do is always talk about moving towards something instead of moving away from something. So let's just say that your manager was a very controlling person and didn't give you very much leeway to do what you knew you needed to do, and you felt disrespected. And so now you're looking for somebody who will respect you more and give you more autonomy to do your job, right? So you wouldn't say, hey, my manager was a micromanager and drove me and always overlooking me. So what you could say is, hey, listen, this next job I'm looking for, I've really gained a lot of experience at my last company. I think I'm ready to go to the next level. Looking for a little bit more of autonomy in my work because I'm very independent and very driven, and that's what I'm seeking. So that's the best way to say that you're leaving this other company because they micromanaged you. You're saying what you're looking for is you're looking for more autonomy, and you're a very independent person. You don't mind working on it as a team and providing information, but you know what you're doing. So that's always the best way to explain when you're leaving your job and going to something else. I mean, tenures are definitely shorter now than they were 10 years ago. So job changes are to be expected, but you can always make it more about what you're trying to achieve from your goals. Maybe your company hasn't spent much money on R&D and they don't have new products coming out. That's not terrible to say, hey, listen, our company just doesn't have a lot of money and they haven't invested in new products, and I'm looking for somebody who has a bigger pipeline of new products. You could say something like that. That's not terribly negative. It's just the truth. And so that's a little bit about answering difficult questions. You just need to be ready to get these. And there again, I do have a separate video on just the 3 most common difficult interview questions. All right, and then virtual interviews. Now this has become more of a standard as Zoom or any kind of video conference. And most of you already know how to do these now because you've done enough of them. So this is basic stuff. I think the biggest thing is just logging in early to make sure your connection works, making sure you're using a home computer, not a cell phone. I think the other thing is I would recommend, I know sometimes it's hard, but to let your current employer know that you're going to be out of pocket for a couple hours and not available, or either take a half a day vacation, because we've had some people schedule face-to-face interviews or virtual interviews and then have to cancel like a day before because their manager said, hey, we've got this meeting I need for you to attend. So if you let your manager know, so don't try to do this without letting your company know, because then that gives them the right to pull you into another meeting. So anyways, a lot of this stuff you kind of know. I mean, if you have a dog who barks when Federal Express knocks on the door, it's not the end of the world, but if you can avoid that kind of stuff, then that's better. Okay, and then, I just talked about this. So taking a half day, using extra time to prepare and avoid scheduling anything too close to the interview. So give yourself a little bit of time in between meetings that you're ready to interview, and you're not rushed when you do it. But anyway, that's general interview prep. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're glad to help you. We have a lot of different resources, and like I say, usually in any week we have 2 or 3 people interviewing, and we usually go over this prep with them, trying to help them get ready, because a lot of people they're not experts at interviewing. I mean, most of the time you're experts at doing your job. So there again, if you have any questions, we're glad to help. Let us know.